Previously, we explored what might happen if Naruto's heart chose Sakura instead of Hinata. Now, in part 2, their feelings grow stronger, but new challenges rise to test their love and loyalty. Chapter 6: Sasuke's Homecoming. Sasuke walked through the village, ignoring the many glares of the villagers as he did so. He'd spent the night at Naruto's house. He never would have done that back in the early days. At least not willingly. There had been one other time he'd spent the night there, when both of them had been stuck together by some sort of stick chakra substance. He and Naruto had had to choose whose house they would sleep in and settled it through a game of rock paper scissors. Naruto had won and Sasuke was forced to sleep on his dirty floor and listen to Naruto's snoring. At least he'd been able to sleep in Naruto's guest room and not been bothered by his snoring, and the guest room wasn't as messy as Naruto's. Sasuke woke up in the morning and made his way out into the streets of the Leaf. It was early, so there were very few people out and about. He headed to the Hidden Leaf Nina Bank, where money had been deposited into the account that he'd long abandoned and left to gather dust in the Uchiha clan's private vault. "Ah, Sasuke," the bank owner said. "It's been a long time." "Yes, it has, Mr. Furaga," Sasuke said. Zatomu Furaga had been friends with Sasuke's father Fugaku. Sasuke doubted he had been aware of Fugaku's plan to overthrow the Hokage. After the Uchiha massacre, Zatomu had donated some money to Sasuke. He was a kind-hearted man who cared about orphans and people in need. At least in most cases. "It's good to see you again after so long," Zatomu said. "I was relieved when I heard the news that you'd finally come to your senses and rejoined the village. That Uzumaki brat finally got through to you, huh?" The bank owner chuckled to show he was joking. Like many in the village, he'd resented Naruto a few years ago, but now he was proud of the boy and guarded his account just like he did Sasuke's. "It's good to finally be back," Sasuke said, managing a smile. "Sorry about your arm," Zatomu said, noticing the stump. "Are you gonna get a replacement like Naruto?" Sasuke shook his head. "I'm here to withdraw some of my money." "Alright, you'll be of age soon and then you will get full access to the rest of the Uchiha fortune," Zatomu said. Sasuke smiled. He withdrew the money, then headed to the Nina real estate to look into buying a new house. That didn't go quite as smoothly. "You should just move to another village or live on your own in the woods, you backstabbing rogue ninja," the real estate agent, a cross old lady, said. "I wouldn't sell you a house for 1,000,000 ryo." Sasuke didn't flinch or otherwise react. "How about 2 million then?" he asked. She was unable to turn away that kind of money. "Retirement, here I come." She leapt for joy. Sasuke was given a key to one of the empty houses around the village. It was worth far less than what he'd paid for it, only 500,000. Ah well, he'd done a lot of things and he came from a clan that had been prejudiced against for a long time. He'd just have to tolerate it for the time being. The house had at least enough room for a small family of 3 or 4. That could happen in the future, sometime. "One day, I will redeem my clan," he promised. "I'll restore it to a proud position in this village." He took a look at himself in the mirror, the bedroom he'd chosen. He removed his old headband with the scratch on it and put it on the dresser. The scratch would probably remind people of the Akatsuki. He'd get a new one. Also, he'd need something to cover his arm stump. Didn't need everyone's pity. Also, blue didn't really feel like his color anymore. He'd gotten this old Uchiha shirt from Granny Cat. He found a store in the village and got himself a black outfit like the one he'd worn in his Chunin exams and during his battle with Itachi. He also put in an order for some Uchiha-crested clothes as well. That store didn't overcharge him, at least, though the tailor didn't seem too welcoming. With that, he went to meet Naruto for lunch. "Sasuke, you didn't have to go through all that," Naruto said after Sasuke told him about his errands. "We have Captain Yamato, he can make houses in just seconds." "It nothing," Sasuke said. "I've got plenty of Ryo left and I'll get more when I turn 18. "Well, let's go to lunch." They headed out to barbecue where they found Team 10 and Sai. "Sasuke, you're back," Ino screamed for joy and waved at her old crush. "Hey," Sasuke said, at least trying to be nice to his old fangirl. Hello Sasuke," Sai said. "Sai," Sasuke greeted the one who'd replaced him on Team 7. "Shikamaru, Choji." Shikamaru looked at Sasuke for a moment, then sighed. "Well, this will probably be a drag. If Naruto thinks you've changed, I believe him. But you've got a lot to make up for. I never really liked you at all, you know. I know, Sasuke nodded. And I hope to change that someday. At least so that you can forgive me. Well, maybe when you've protected the village for 4 years, Shikamaru said. I think you just buy me a few meals sometime and we'll be all good, Choji said in a teasing manner. Sasuke actually smirked at that. Well, it feels nice to be back. He and Naruto sat down. So Naruto, how are things with you and Sakura? Ino asked as she sat next to Sai. Going fine. She still hits me whenever I do something stupid, but other than that we're great. She said she had to work late today at the hospital with Grandma Tsunade, and she's thinking of setting up some sort of network of medical clinics across the 5 nations so that we can share Grandma Tsunade's medical prowess with the others. You sure that would be a good thing? Shikamaru asked. It would be a drag if they were to take our village's most powerful healing strength and then turn against us. I agree. That might put us at a disadvantage, Sasuke said. Maybe, but if we want peace we to cooperate, don't we? Choji asked. The Akatsuki united us, now we have to make sure we don't start a 5th great ninja war. Lord Danzo always believed that peace between the 5 great nations was impossible, Sai said. 2 years ago I wouldn't believe that all this was happening. You worked for Danzo? Sasuke asked, surprised. Sai nodded. He placed me on Team Kakashi in order for me to find you when we first met. It was he who ordered me to kill you to prevent Orochimaru from obtaining your body as a new vessel. Sasuke huffed indifferently. There was an awkward silence. So Sasuke, why did you join Akatsuki anyway? Ino asked. Was it some sort of lie that Tobi or Obito, or whatever his name was, told you? Sasuke stiffened. He told me the truth about Itachi. That's all I can really say. The truth? Ino asked. Sasuke was silent. He knew that he needed to keep the truth a secret. If word got out then it would be much harder to restore the Uchiha clan's reputation. Before Ino could inquire further though, their meat was done cooking. Yahoo! Here we go. Choji immediately began stuffing his face happily. The rest of the friends began digging in and continued catching up. Sasuke listened to stories of all the action he'd missed since leaving the village to join Orochimaru and then Akatsuki. They told him about Sora, Hidan and Kakazu, and the 3 Tails as well as their missions from before and after Naruto left the village. I certainly missed a lot, Sasuke said by the time they were done with their food. I wonder what would have happened if I'd chosen to stay when Sakura asked me to. Or I'd listened to Kakashi when he told me revenge doesn't solve anything. I wish I had done that now. Well, you're okay by me, Sasuke, Choji said as he held his stomach full of food Sasuke had paid for. That's nice of you, Choji, Sasuke replied, glad he was on the right track with some of them at least. Well, Choji's the nice guy on our team. But I meant what I said, Shikamaru said. You're gonna need to work hard in order to make up for what you've done. Sasuke nodded and began to walk home. As he did so he saw a familiar face. She stopped in front him. Oh hi Sasuke, Hinata said. Hinata, he greeted. I hope you are doing well, Hinata asked. Sasuke paused for a moment. Well, I got myself a new home. So that's good. What do you plan to do now? Hinata asked. Well, I'm gonna redeem myself in the eyes of this village. Just like Naruto, Sasuke said. She flinched at the mention of Naruto's name and looked down. Naruto. He's managed to change everyone's opinion of him. I want to do the same, Sasuke stated. That's a good goal, Hinata said. What about you? Sasuke asked. Hinata looked down again. I don't know now. For so long I've wanted to be with Naruto. She suddenly began to tear up. But now he is with Sakura and I don't know what to do now. Sasuke stood still, watching her. I'm sure you can find someone out there that can love you. But Naruto is the one who inspired me to change myself the most, Hinata said. He was a good influence on you then, Sasuke said. Like he was on me. He never gave up on changing the village's perspective of him. I won't either. You shouldn't give up either. She looked at him and saw a small smile. She smiled back. Thank you Sasuke, she said. He nodded and began walking past her. Well, I wasn't sure what to write for chapter 6 till today, but when I began to write it just happened. Sometimes the story writes itself, as they say. Hope you guys liked this chapter. Haven't much Narusaku for a few chapters now, so might have to make the next one a focus on the couple. But I think this could plant some seeds for a possible Sasahina ship. Maybe I'll have a love triangle between Hinata, Sasuke, and Kiba. Let me know in the reviews which person you'd like to end up with who. I'm kinda torn myself. It would probably be either Sasuke or Sasahina. I'm not sure who I'd have Kiba end up with if not Hinata. Maybe Yakumo from the Kurama clan who appeared in the anime of the filler arcs at the end of the original series. I know in Boruto he ends up with the cat girl, but how did they even meet? Ah well, Boruto is non-canon in my mind now, so doesn't matter. Please share your thoughts. I'm thinking just 4 more chapters of this stage in the story. Root will probably make their move and steal Madara's Rinnegan soon. I just looked at the chapters today and found that there is a contradiction in my Word document where it seems as though Ranzo has the eyes already, but later it says he doesn't. I'll have to make sure I fixed that on here. Ah, I didn't. There we go, that's fixed. They haven't stolen the Rinnegan yet. But soon. Then Root, Ranzo, and the elders will try and make their move to take over the village. Chapter 7 Resurface of Hatred. Well, I think it's time to get into the part where Root begins to make its move, or close to. Unfortunately, I might not get a lot of Narusaku moments in this chapter like I had hoped to a couple weeks ago. I've had an idea for who the main antagonist can be for this story, but I won't give it away just yet, at least not directly. You might be able to figure it out though. Danzo's son Ranzo will be the first antagonist here, and the main one will hopefully come out sooner or later. He does speak here but is not named. Also, I formed an idea in this chapter about how Madara and Nagato obtained the Rinnegan. I don't know if there is anything to disprove it in canon, so feel free to comment on that and enlighten me if I'm wrong. Sakura worked at the hospital with Lady Tsunade. Shizune wasn't with them as she had decided to remain as an assistant to Kakashi in the Hokage office. Naruto and Sasuke had decided to spend the day with some of their fellow old classmates in the academy. The day had been busy with several ninja coming back with minor to severe injuries. There had even been a near fatal. Fortunately, both of the top medical ninjas had managed to save the man just in time. Then there was Sakura's latest idea to start a network of medical clinics across the 5 nations. She'd been hard at work writing letters to each of the other cages which were now on their way. She had little doubt they would accept. But the only thing that worried her was the possibility that one of the nations might take their knowledge and turn against them. Ah well, they had to take that chance. If it worked, then things could ease tensions further and unite the nations in friendship. It was getting close to nightfall and her shift was almost over. Finally the end came and Sakura could go. Well, I'll see you later, Lady Tsunade, Sakura said as she made her way out. Good night, Sakura, enjoy yourself for a couple of days. I'm sure everything will be just fine here, Tsunade said. She nodded and left. Tsunade returned to her lab where Madara's corpse still was, and his eyes containing the Rinnegan were floating in the chemical-filled canister to preserve them. Every so often they changed back to his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. For a while she continued her experiments. So far they had been successful with creating new limbs for people. But could she perhaps replicate the Rinnegan itself in another person? There had been another person who had been granted the Rinnegan somehow, Nagato. Now after some extensive research she knew that Nagato had been part of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto's clan. The Uzumaki clan were distantly related the Senjus, and both the Senju and Uchiha, according to what she'd heard from Naruto after listening to the tale from Obito, were descended from the Sage of the Six Paths himself. With this all information, Tsunade had come to a hypothesis. By acquiring DNA from both clans, Uchiha and Senju, one could awaken the supreme powers of the sage himself. Of course Naruto and Sasuke had both acquired theirs through receiving the sage's chakra in their near-death states. But this was likely how Madara had acquired the Rinnegan when no other Uchiha had until Sasuke, and he only had one Rinnegan. Looking at Madara's body and a few blood samples nearby, she felt tempted to inject some of the blood into herself. Perhaps she could awaken the Rinnegan, as a descendant of the Senju clan, with the blood of an Uchiha, that might work. As she recalled Pain's invasion and how he had utterly demolished them, she wanted to do it. But another part of her felt that this sort of power should not be allowed to exist. Of course, they did already in the forms of Naruto and Sasuke. Tsunade shook her head. If word got out that anyone could awaken the Rinnegan by combining the DNA of 2 lines of the 6 paths, then there would be little godlike children in every corner of the 5 nations. If any of them were to go rogue with that power, disaster could ensue. It could be an even more destructive war than the last one. She would have to keep this hypothesis to herself. Leaving her lab, she locked the reinforced steel door. There was no way anyone who didn't have the key could get in. Even with a chakra-imbued blade, for this steel was made from the same material as chakra armor from the land of snow, but at an even higher grade. The only way to get in was to get the key from her. No way that was gonna happen. Tsunade left the lab. As she did so, Madara's eyes changed. Not into the mangekyo he'd had but one made of swirls like the mask Obito had worn. A pattern that had existed long ago. Sasuke tossed and turned in his sleep. The villagers all looked at him with disdain, silently telling him to get out of the village. They will never accept you. A voice said. Who is there? Sasuke asked. You should have been the victor, the voice said. You should have been the one to crush Asura's legacy. Since you have made peace with his reincarnation, I will have to find another means. Sasuke awoke breathing heavily. He looked around his new house and let out a sigh. Just a dream, he said laying back down. He joined his team for a mission the next day. They gathered in the Hokage's office, Naruto, with Sakura standing at his side faithfully, and Sasuke a few feet away. Well, thank you all for coming, Kakashi said. I hope everything is going well with you three. We're fine, Sasuke said. Yeah, now everything's back to normal around here. Naruto said. Yes, Sakura agreed. Well, let's hope it stays that way. Though there is a reason I called all of you here today. I've been getting reports of strange chakra all over the battlefield where the Ten Tails was, Kakashi said. But we sealed the Ten Tails back into the moon with Kagaya and Black Zetsu. Naruto said. Yes, but remember Sora. Sakura said. His father took a bunch of chakra that was left over from the Nine Tails attack here. Oh yeah, I wonder how Sora is doing. Naruto said. So you want us to investigate? Sasuke asked. Yes, if there is chakra from the Ten Tails in the area we need to get it under control before it affects the environment or anything else happens, Kakashi said. Since you three, and I, are the ones that managed to stop the Ten Tails, though it would be best to leave it to you. Sasuke can absorb it with his Rinnegan and Naruto can likely help as well. Oyami and Sasuke will find that chakra and make sure it doesn't do anything bad. Naruto declared. Hey, what about me? Sakura asked. What am I supposed to do? Well, Kakashi thought for a moment. I don't know. Sakura looked down. Naruto and Sasuke both had those godlike abilities now. True, she could heal practically any injury with her 100 healings jutsu, but she still felt like the lesser ninja. Hey, if we get injured, who's gonna be there to patch us up? You, of course, Sakura. Naruto put an arm around his girlfriend. If it weren't for you, Kagaya would have evaded us and prolonged the battle, Sasuke said. We might have lost. Same thing back in the Chunin exams when we were both unconscious and you protected us. You're there for us when we need you the most, Sakura. That lifted her spirits. Oh, you guys. She hugged Naruto, then pulled Sasuke into it. He smiled and joined in the team embrace. Let's go, Naruto said. They ran out to go on their mission, passing a familiar old man and woman. Homura Mitokado listened and immediately made his way to the Shimura mansion with remarkable speed for one his advanced age. Kaharu Udatain at his side. The Sannin have left Ranzo, Kaharu said. Apparently some of Ten Tails' chakra might be swirling around the battlefield from the Ten Tails. They will be working to eliminate it, Homura said. Ah, good news. Though we must get to it first, Ranzo said. But before that, we must commence the operation to retrieve the Rinnegan. I've worked out a plan. Ranzo headed to hospital where Tsunade was working, a basket in his hands. He saw a nurse at the front desk. Please, give this to Lady Tsunade, Ranzo said, putting on a friendly smile. The nurse blushed as she looked at him. Being a resemblance to his father in his younger years, Ranzo had the advantage of being considered handsome. At once, sir, the nurse said. Ranzo left, smirking. Lady Tsunade, a delivery arrived for you. One of the nurses said. It was a basket, a bottle of sake, and not just any sake but one of the finest in the land of fire. As well as Tsunade's favorite food, chicken breasts, still in its container and ready to be cooked. Well, that's a surprise, Tsunade said. Who is this from? I don't know. A handsome man that looked to be in his late 20s, the nurse said. Ah, well, someone certainly went through a lot of trouble to give this to me. I'd best get this to a fridge so the chicken doesn't go to waste, Tsunade said. That would save her having to buy dinner something. Tsunade took the basket and walked out with a smile. On the way she immediately opened the cork and began to drink it from the very bottle. Ah, just what I need. Haven't had this fine wine in years, she said before clutching her head. Seems a bit stronger than I remember though. Her steps slowed and then she suddenly lost balance and fell to the ground. The still open bottle poured its contents on the ground next to her and the basket spilled its food. She lay there unconscious as two men in masks came upon her. One searched her and found the keys. He went to perform his task while the other took her off. Without alerting anyone in the hospital, the Anbu made it into the basement where Tsunade had made her lab. He inserted the key and turned. Inside he immediately found what he was looking for and removed his mask, revealing his face as Ranzo's. He'd been raised for only two purposes in life as Danzo's son. To help his father become Hokage, and to preserve the clan's name. He'd not loved his father, as that was something that Danzo discouraged and emotions were useless and got in the way. But hatred coursed through Ranzo. Ranzo would avenge his father and see his ways become integrated into the village. He seized the canisters with the Rinnegan, which again changed into the spiral Mangekyo and emitted a faint aura of darkness in the canister being held by a man who carried a small spark of hate in his heart. Well, you can take a guess as to what's going on if you wish. Please review. Oh boy, hopefully Tsunade's gonna be okay. I'm writing this as I go. I realize that it might seem a little too easy for them to just subdue one of the three legendary Sannin, or in this one of the original three, with their favorite food. Though I remember how Sora nearly killed Tsunade with a big shuriken in the Guardian Shinobi filler of Shippuden, I don't think it's too far a cry. As I recall, Tsunade has a soft spot for drinking. I have considered Tsunade maybe dying, but we'll see. Now that Root has got her, I don't think it would be smart to let her live unless they have that device from the land of snow that can suppress chakra. Okay, that could work, don't worry too much. Chapter 8, The Excess Chakra of the Ten Tails. Hey guys, sorry for the delay. I decided to take a day off on Saturday, April 23rd, as there was quite a bit going. Well, I will try to get this posted either Sunday night or Monday afternoon. Enjoy. And I've come up with a third option for Hinata possible love interest. I know I said my three option at one point could be Kiba, Sasuke, or an OC. Well, I won't be doing an OC now most likely, the third option will now be Darui. Yep, you heard that right, or read I guess. I came up with the idea when I remembered the Raikage was told off by Kakashi in the Land of Iron as the Hyuga incident was still unresolved on the Leaf's side. Or maybe it doesn't have to be Darui, maybe that younger guy that is sent to the Leaf. Omoi or whatever. Though Darui is probably a better form of payment as he has the storm-style Kekai Genkai. This would mean I need to either have a stay as Raikage or find a different successor, unless Hinata moves to the Hidden Cloud, though I don't think that's fair as this would involve paying back the Leaf for his previous treachery. I could give Darui a younger brother that has the same bloodline. In any case, what do you guys think? I'll leave it up to a poll. Kiba, Sasuke, or someone from the Hidden Cloud. If not enough votes are given or they end up in some sort of tie, I'll just have to make a choice myself. Also, I think I should have Kakashi fall in love with someone too. As I recall, Ayame has a crush on him, or maybe Shizune. Let me know your ideas. Edit the 11th of June 22. I got a review in the next chapter that pointed out a fair point that not just anyone can use the Rinnegan about a month ago, and that someone not connected the Uchiha or Uzumaki Senju clan would die from chakra overuse. I considered having Ranzo's mother be related to one of them, but then I came up with a new idea. Go to the paragraph where we get Ranzo's short point of view in this chapter to see. Kakashi sat in his office looking at letters now. There was a bit of fan mail here and there, most of it from kids here in the Leaf, but there were people that admired him from out the other hidden villages as well. But there was one letter of great importance. From the Raikage. Kakashi opened the contents. To Kakashi Hatake, the 6th Hokage. The world is certainly changing. When I was younger, I never imagined all of us coming together. It's a miracle we are staying united even after the defeat of the Akatsuki. Anyway, I'm writing to propose an offer. Back when we met in the Land of Iron you reminded me that the Hyuga incident is still unresolved on your side. I know it was not you I betrayed with the peace negotiations at the time with my ambassador but the third Hokage. Ah well, I suppose I must apologize anyway. In penance for the loss of the Hyuga clan member, I offer a member of the Cloud as a marriage candidate for the young Hyuga I once ordered abducted. I hear she is a skilled kunoichi. I understand of course that you may see this as another attempt to try and acquire her, so I will allow my ninja to transfer to the Leaf. Bring the matter to her father and we shall see if he is willing. Bring the cards inside the envelope to him and he can decide. Kakashi looked at the letter then back in the envelope. There were indeed several cards inside showing ninja from the Cloud. Well, this will certainly be an interesting thing to bring up. Shizune. His assistant looked at him. If you would, send a runner to Lord Hiashi. At once Lord Hokage, Shizune said. She went to fulfill her task. Hiashi would likely be here within 40 minutes. Kakashi looked out the window. I wonder how my old team is doing. He returned to his paperwork. Then the door burst open and an Anbu came in. Lord Hokage. We have an emergency. Lady Tsunade is missing. No one has seen her since last night when she left the hospital. What? Kakashi exclaimed. And more, the Anbu continued. Her lab was broken into, and Madara's Rinnegan was taken. Kakashi sat there wide-eyed for a moment. Well, this certainly can't be good. Do we have any suspects? Not yet, sir. Lock down the village. No one leaves until we find Lady Tsunade. At once. In the woods outside of the Leaf, Ranzo led his reborn Root Anbu and their allies from the Land of Iron and the Cloud in the direction of the old battlefield. There were a dozen of them altogether, all armed with tantos or full katanas. Ranzo's eyes were now replaced with Madara's in the Rinnegan form. Normally this would have killed anyone who didn't have a blood connection to the Sage of the Six Paths. But Ranzo had a secret weapon up his sleeve to be able to use it. Chakra War food pills, a special type of food pill that had only been invented just before the war. It allowed the one who consumed it to rapidly regenerate chakra that would have otherwise taken hours to recuperate. That had allowed ninja like Kakashi to use powerful techniques like the lightning blade dozens of times when they could naturally only do them a few times a day. This was the only thing preventing him from having any side effects from the legendary eyes. Tsunade was being kept in a cell underground with a chakra suppressor invented in the Land of Snow strapped into her so she couldn't call on her vast abilities. Ranzo didn't plan to kill her, yet. If she got in his way though, then he would. Soon, Sasuke Uchiha will be dead and my father, Lord Danzo, as well all of our friends and family that he killed will be avenged. Ranzo declared. The three members of Team 7, now the new generation of Sannin, walked the battlefield where they had faced the Ten Tails, Madara, and Obito. They had also faced Kaguya as well, across multiple dimensions. Naruto activated Sage Mode, standing still for a few seconds, his eyes gaining orange lids and turning frog-like. Sasuke likewise activated his Sharingan and removed his eye patch for the Rinnegan. I see it, he said. I sense it, Naruto said. They both sprinted in the direction of the chakra with Sakura following. The vegetation in the area has started to grow back, of course there had been mountains destroyed as well which would never come back. The three ninjas soon came within close to the masses of chakra. Sakura could see it now too. Visible chakra floated in the air, higher than the average shinobi could ever hope to jump. But Naruto and Sasuke had other means to get up there or reach the chakra. There were at least half a dozen of them. Clouds of light red chakra like Obito and Madara had produced as Jinchurikis. Sasuke activated his Susanoo and sprouted its wings. He flew up, at the same Naruto levitated upwards on his own, creating a Rasenshuriken with one hand. His past couple months of training to perfect his techniques had paid off, now he could do not only the Rasengan without shadow clones but the Rasenshuriken as well. He threw it at the Ten Tails chakra clouds which vanished in a shower of white sparks. Sasuke meanwhile, went for the other half of the clouds. He extended the hands of Susanoo and absorbed the clouds into his body. For a moment, he transformed partially, his face but not the rest of his body turning light green and horns came out of head. Sasuke channeled the chakra back out and unleashed in the form of his most powerful attack, named in honor of the Uchiha clan's ancient ancestor, Indra Otsutsuki. Indra's arrow. The giant arrow made completely of lightning shot into the sky, possibly out into space. Eventually it would dissipate though, and no harm would be done hopefully. Sasuke's face returned back to normal as he slowly descended back toward the ground where Sakura waited. But suddenly, intense pain shot through the last Uchiha. He screamed, it felt as though his very spirit were on fire. His Susanoo vanished and he plummeted toward the ground. Sasuke! Naruto shouted in concern for his rival and best friend. Sasuke! Sakura likewise yelled as she saw him falling. She ran, and leapt, concentrating her chakra into her feet to maximize her leap. Even so she was just out of range. Sasuke would land in just a few seconds. Summoning jutsu, she shouted. In a puff of smoke, Katsuyu, a giant white and blue slug appeared. Sasuke landed on her back, which cushioned him like a trampoline. He bounced a couple of times. Naruto retrieved him and brought him back down to Sakura. Thank you Lady Katsuyu, Sakura said as she gently laid Sasuke on his back. You're welcome Sakura, the giant slug said. Do not hesitate to call upon me again if you need help. She vanished, leaving the new Sannin alone. Sakura performed her medical chakra on Sasuke but her hand was suddenly repelled. My medical chakra isn't working on him. Sakura said. Let me try. Naruto said. He put his hand on Sasuke who gritted his teeth. Naruto performed his own healing jutsu, the power he'd acquired after meeting the Sage of the Six Paths. It had allowed him to save Might Guy, but not Obito Uchiha. Naruto prayed he could save this Uchiha. In his subconscious, Naruto heard Kurama. He took in the chakra of the 10 tails, and it recognizes him as an enemy, the fox said. Now it is trying to destroy him from inside. Naruto felt pressure as he did his unique healing, the 10 tails chakra was trying to repel him. I already beat you 10 tails. Leave him alone. Naruto shouted as he put both hands on Sasuke. That did it. The chakra in Sasuke subsided. Naruto could still sense it inside him but it wasn't doing any harm now. Sasuke's breathing and expression eased, but he fainted. He should be okay, Kurama said. But best keep an eye on him. Naruto nodded as the chakra around him vanished. He then put Sasuke on his back. Well that's done. Come on Sakura, let's go home. Yeah, Sakura said with a nod as she followed her boyfriend. Good job catching him with Katsuyu by the way. Naruto added. Sakura blushed. She had thought that she would be totally useless again, but she'd saved Sasuke from falling to his death. As he'd said, she was there when they needed her the most. Everything would be fine, or so she thought, as suddenly, a dozen figures leapt into the area around them. Sakura and Naruto gasped as they recognized three-leaf Anbu led by a man with brown hair and the Rinnegan in his eyes. Also with them were 8 other people, 4 samurai from the Land of Iron, and 4 ninja in white and red uniforms wielding katanas from the village hidden in the clouds. What's going on? Naruto asked. We're here for Sasuke Uchiha. The man with the Rinnegan said. Well this seems like a good enough place to leave off until next time. I think it will be in 3 weeks from now. I've decided to go back to my Star Wars self-insert fanfic and do another Pokemon romance story. Will Naruto and Sakura be able to stop Ranzo from killing Sasuke? He's in a sticky situation now being unconscious. But something else lurks in the shadows, wait and find out. 9. Chapter 9, Back from the Start. Okay looks like I forgot to add a name to the last chapter. Ah well I had planned on doing some editing at some point as I've noticed a few errors every chapter so I will do that sooner or later. Naruto's eyes widened. He'd thought he convinced, who are you guys? He asked. What do you want with Sasuke? And how do you have the Rinnegan? He looked at the leader with the eyes that he'd only seen in a handful of people like Nagito, Obito, Madara, and Sasuke. How many were gonna crop up with those eyes anyway? The purple eyes narrowed. Figures I'd never be heard of with how my father never let me shine. I'm Ranzo Shimura, son of Danzo, and these are my allies from Root, the Land of Iron and the Hidden Cloud. Naruto frowned at him. Danzo, the old geezer who had ordered Sasuke killed after he'd reportedly abducted Killer Bee. Sasuke had killed Danzo before Team 7 had reunited briefly in the Land of Iron. If this was his son then. You're here for revenge on Sasuke, Naruto said. It was a statement not a question. Sakura's gaze stiffened as she put herself in front of Sasuke to defend her friend. That's right, Ranzo said. I didn't really love my father, but he is my blood and it is my duty to avenge him. All of us lost someone dear to us when he attacked the Land of Iron and the Hidden Cloud. One of the Cloud Shinobi said. Naruto could see it. The cycle of hatred caused by revenge. Sasuke has changed, he said, trying to reason with them. That's right. Sakura agreed with her boyfriend. That doesn't change the fact that he did those things. One of the samurai said. We lost friends and brothers in arms during his attack. Children lost their fathers. How can you still view him as a friend after all he has done? You should hate him as much as we do. He was your friend and he left you years ago. Naruto's expression didn't change. He was silent for a moment. Sasuke was the first person I ever formed a bond with, he said. Before I joined this team, I didn't have anyone I was close to. I'll never let him be hurt. Please, vengeance only leads to more suffering for everyone and creates more hatred. Let it go. That's impossible. Another Cloud Village shinobi said. You think you can win against us? Sakura asked. We're the 3 new legendary Sannin. Even if only 2 of us are able to fight, we are still above the average shinobi. Especially Naruto. He and Sasuke are both at a level you can never hope to reach. The blonde smiled at his girlfriend's praise. That may be so, but I have the Rinnegan. Ranzo pointed out. I beat those eyes already, 4 times. Naruto scoffed. Ranzo drew his sword, as did his root agents with their tantos, and the samurai and Cloud Shinobi did the same. Naruto's eyes suddenly changed as he entered Sage mode. He'd been gathering the chakra ever since these new enemies had appeared. Seeing the Rinnegan, he knew he would need something more than just his basic shinobi abilities. Sakura, take Sasuke and get him somewhere safe. Naruto told his girl. Right. Sakura said as she put Sasuke's arm over her shoulder and leapt off with him. Naruto expected Ranzo to send some of his men after them, but he didn't. Even if you escape, the truth about Sasuke's clan will soon be revealed. Ranzo said with a small smirk. Naruto stiffened. He'd thought that only he, Yamato, Kakashi, and Sasuke were the only ones who knew the truth behind the Uchiha clan massacre. But then he remembered, there were 2 others among the living that had known. The elders, Homura and Kaharu, who had used Itachi to spy on the clan. Were they up to something back home? Kakashi was in his office with Hiashi Hyuga in the seat in front of him. The Hyuga clan head had come at his request and reviewed the letter from the Raikage. Well, this is an interesting development, Hiashi agreed. Hinata has become rather sad for the last few months. Ever since Naruto Uzumaki got together with that Haruno girl. I think it will do her some good to see other boys. She is getting to be that age where in the ancient customs I would start looking into choosing a husband for her. She has surpassed my expectations. She used to be so weak, but I fear she may regress back to that if this continues. So you are willing to give the lightning shinobi a chance? Kakashi asked. Hiashi nodded. Some part of me has always wanted retribution from the Hidden Cloud for the death of my brother. But I know that would lead to war, and we've had enough of that. This can't replace my brother, or his son that we lost in the recent war with the Akatsuki, but we can at least rebuild our clan and make peace with an old adversary. Hopefully there will be no deception this time. Kakashi nodded. Suddenly the door opened again. Lord Hokage. An Anbu said. The elders and council are calling everyone to the Hokage house. They have an important announcement to make. I wasn't aware of any announcement to the village today. Kakashi was surprised. They said a situation has developed that demands it. The Anbu messenger said. Kakashi sighed. Very well. It must be to do with Lady Tsunade. He got up and put on his Hokage cloak and hat for the formal announcement. Naruto leapt at the group of a dozen opponents and charged while putting his fingers together in the shadow clone jutsu hand signs. 2 shadow clones appeared, one on either side of him. Naruto himself went for Ranzo. His 2 shadow clones attacked the others in his group. Ranzo leapt away using his chakra to increase the power of his jump, getting out of range of Naruto's punch, even if he was assisted by nature energy that could do damage even if the blow narrowly missed. He had to keep his distance from the blows. He then raised his katana and swung it while channeling his chakra through it. Wind/jutsu. As he swung his sword, a long blade of pure wind flew from it. Naruto met it head-on with a wind-style Rasengan which broke it in 2. Around him, his shadow clones punched each of the shinobi from the Hidden Cloud, which suddenly exploded in a flash of lightning that ran through them and caused them to vanish. Lightning-style shadow clones. Naruto realized. As his eyes were on that scene for only a moment, Ranzo suddenly lifted his hand. Naruto was lifted up into the air as the Rinnegan's gravity-controlling ability, Shinra Tensei. Naruto had no choice, he had to use Kurama's chakra as well to cancel this one out. He called the fox's chakra into his hands, sent it to the ground, grabbing hold. Another instant later, his entire body was covered in the chakra. "Oh no you don't," one of the Anbu from Root said. He stabbed Naruto in the shoulder. The Jinchuriki groaned and suddenly felt his chakra being sipped away. "Did you think we would not have a plan to deal with your Sage and Ninetails chakra?" The member who'd stabbed him asked. "We've been working on a weapon to absorb chakra like that sword Sharkskin does." Naruto felt both Kurama's chakra and Sage mode vanish as he gritted his teeth. He then punched the Root Anbu with enough force for him to let go the Tanto, which unlike most of the ones made by Root actually had a point for stabbing. Naruto pulled it out as he landed smoothly on the ground. Kurama's chakra re-emerged but he wouldn't be able to use Sage mode again unless he used shadow clones. But they'd be sitting ducks since they couldn't move. Plus, Ranzo had only an interval of 5 seconds before he could use the Shinra Tensei again. 3 seconds must have already passed. 2, 1. Ranzo raised his hand again to attack Naruto with the same technique. But nothing happened. "What?" Ranzo exclaimed. Suddenly he groaned in pain and staggered over. Naruto smirked. "You may have the Rinnegan, but you're not as experienced with it as Nagato or the others, and your body might not be able to handle it." He raised his own hand, which shot a large arm of Kurama's chakra at Ranzo. It grabbed hold of the new Root leader and drew him in. For a moment it looked like Naruto won. But then Ranzo grinned as he got close to Naruto. "It's over," Naruto said to the others present. "Have the real Cloud Shinobi come out?" "I don't think so," Ranzo said as he grabbed hold of the chakra holding him. Once again Naruto felt it being sapped as Ranzo used the Rinnegan's ability to absorb chakra. The arm vanished and Naruto was once again reverted to his ordinary state. Then the samurai came at him with their swords. Naruto leapt up and avoided the attack. He wasn't armored like them, but he was faster thanks to not wearing any armor. Ranzo raised his hand again to try the Shinra Tensei. It worked. It seemed it took him a few seconds more than Pain had. At least he'd managed to get a good amount of information on the techniques the Rinnegan could do. Though he couldn't use all of them just yet. It would take time for him to develop them. Naruto flew toward a tree and hit a tree. The 4 samurai came at him again, as did the 3 Root Anbu. The shinobi from the hidden cloud were nowhere to be seen. They must have gone after Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto knew that Sakura was a capable woman, not as his or Sasuke's level but still capable. He still had to protect her if she needed it. "Cut off his legs," Ranzo shouted. "Even Jinchuriki can't grow back limbs, or behead him." The Root Anbu reached him first, but Naruto was too quick. He grabbed the wrist holding the Tanto and then threw that opponent into his 2 fellows. Then came the samurai who threw chakra blades off of their swords like Ranzo with his wind style, but theirs was simple normal chakra. Naruto for a 3rd time called on Kurama's chakra. "These foes are rather annoying, Naruto." The fox commented within the seal. "Yeah, let's finish him." Naruto agreed. Arms of orange-red chakra shot out of Naruto's whole body and slammed into the many opponents, knocking them out. Naruto then turned his attention to Ranzo. He then leapt at the man, having to close the gap before 10 or so seconds passed, which seemed to be the time for his Shinra Tensei to cool down. His chakra-encrusted hands smashed into the new leader or Root, who suddenly exploded in a rage of flames. "Ah!" Naruto exclaimed as he felt the fire against his chakra cloak. "A fire-style clone. That's a new one. But where was the real Ranzo?" Naruto concentrated for a moment with his chakra sensing through Kurama and found him. Closing in on Sasuke. "Sakura!" he exclaimed. Running through the barren battlefield supporting Sasuke, Sakura was a bit slower than normal. He sure was heavy, being tall and muscular. She had to use her own immense strength taught by Tsunade to handle it. Naruto would win against those guys, she had no doubt about that. They were a good distance away, then she could wait for Naruto. "Arg!" Sakura exclaimed as suddenly she was pulled back by an impossibly strong unseen force. Then she found herself being held by the throat as she looked at the man with the rinnegan. He looked so much like Danzo but without the bandages or scars, and with 2 rinnegan. In his other throat he held Sasuke, who was still unconscious. You may have beat me here to the battlefield, but since Sasuke absorbed the chakra that was left here by the 10 tails, I can absorb what he did and become a pseudo-Jinchuriki to the tails. Maybe not on the same level as Madara but still stronger than my father ever was. And Ranzo began to absorb both their chakra. Sakura's was gone in moments, the mark on her forehead vanishing. Sasuke had so much more, so it would take a bit more time to get the 10 tails chakra he'd absorbed out. Or at least it should have. Ranzo gasped as he felt the 10 tails chakra suddenly entering him at high speed as though it had a mind of its own. Or was it Sasuke's chakra that was going in him? At that moment Ranzo heard a voice in his head. This reincarnation has betrayed my legacy. Now, I, Indra Otsutsuki, shall take your body which now has chakra from 2 of my reincarnations. And all the 10 tails chakra as well, some of Sasuke's own, managed to get inside Ranzo. His rinnegan changed as Ranzo stood there for a moment. They turned back into Indra's swirled Mangekyo Sharingan. The vengeful spirit of the one who had started the war between the Uchiha and the Senju long ago. Indra Otsutsuki walked the earth again in the body of Ranzo. Naruto could sense the change in Ranzo even as he ran at high speed. He didn't know what the change was about, but he knew he had to get there fast. He arrived just in time to see Ranzo drop Sakura and Sasuke. The remaining opponents that had gone with him, the 2 hidden cloud ninja, raised their swords to finish them off while they were unconscious. Naruto was there to save his teammates, just like he'd saved Hinata in the war. He caught both swords as they came down at their intended victims. He then threw both shinobi away and faced Ranzo, looking into the eyes which showed a pattern of swirls in them. What the? Naruto exclaimed. Ranzo glared at him. I recognize you, brother. Or rather, his reincarnation. Naruto glared back. He'd never met this person. But he'd heard the sage of the 6 paths talking about him and how he and Sasuke were reincarnations of him and his brother Asura. Indra Otsutsuki, Naruto said. Indra grinned with Ranzo's face. I will destroy you once and for all. Along with that failure of my reincarnated soul, Indra said. Before Naruto could do anything, he suddenly disappeared in a swirl of space from his right eye. Kamui. Just like Obito and Kakashi. Indra escaped with Ranzo's body that had the excess chakra of the 10 tails inside it. Naruto gritted his teeth. He just hoped everything was okay in the village. Kakashi listened in dread as Homura and Kaharu made their speech to the entire village. The Uchiha are a traitorous clan. Kaharu stated. They plotted to overthrow this village and install themselves as the ruling family. Do we still need Sasuke Uchiha after all his clan has done? No. Many voices rang out. Away with the Uchiha. This is bad, Kakashi said. Well, finally got to the part where I could properly introduce who I thought might make a good antagonist for this story. I hope you guys like the Indra being able to return as a sort of vengeful spirit. It might be a little far-fetched, but ah well. The way I have it is Indra's spirit was upset with Sasuke for betraying his legacy by making peace with Naruto, and he was able to awaken by having the chakra of 2 of his reincarnations put into Ranzo. Now he's gonna find a way to return to his original body, or so I plan. Let me know your thoughts on this. Well, now that the antagonist is introduced, I think I'll take a break from him for a while. He decides to lay low. I think I'll go deeper into the love life of Naruto and Sakura, as well as get Hinata and Sasuke together with someone, or each other. I'm leaning towards each other. Well, Sasuke will have trouble when he gets back. Chapter 10, Telling Off the Leaf. Hey guys, so I took last week off to do a little bit of editing on some of the previous chapters. Someone brought something to my attention in one of their reviews that someone without Uchiha or Senju Uzumaki blood would die pretty quick from using the Rinnegan. So I had to figure out a way around that. I considered making Ranzo's mother an Uchiha or Senju, but then I settled on a special kind of pill that can rapidly regenerate chakra. I kind of tied that into the 4th Ninja War as well, since we saw things like Kakashi using his Mangekyo Sharingan and the lightning blade dozens of times, when it has been shown many times that those techniques require massive amounts of chakra and overusing them had great consequences for Kakashi. I know it's possible to grow chakra reserves or whatever, but how long was it between the 5 Cage Summit and the 4th Great Ninja War? A few weeks, months. I seriously doubt Kakashi would have been able to train hard enough to use the Mangekyu techniques 100 or so times. Might have just been for the sake of having a great final battle, but Kishimoto did disregard his own world building. Ah well, I inserted a new type of food pill in here that allowed Ranzo to use the Rinnegan and fills in the gap for Kakashi. Now to the story. Long author's notes, but ah well. Naruto, with a few shadow clones, took Sakura and Sasuke away from the battlefield. He carried Sakura in his arms while 2 shadow clones made a chair for Sasuke with theirs. The Uchiha was alright now thanks to Ranzo absorbing the chakra, but now they had a new enemy in Indra. Sakura began to stir. Naruto, what happened? She asked as she tried to walk but didn't have the strength right now. Easy Sakura, I got you, Naruto told his girlfriend. Sakura felt a bit of embarrassment having to be carried. But at the same time Naruto's arms felt warm and secure. She was safe with him around. Naruto got his teammates to a safe place and stopped to rest. Naruto then told Sakura what happened while she was out with Indra returning. You think he'll be back? Sakura asked. Probably, he said he wanted to kill me and Sasuke, Naruto said. Sakura shuddered. They'd just defeated Akatsuki for good, but now a new powerful enemy had come back all the way from the dead after hundreds of years. When would they finally be able to live without some great threat looming over them? I just want to be able to settle down and live peacefully with Naruto. Her inner self said. Sasuke suddenly began to come around. He grunted and opened his eyes. What happened? He asked, seeing his friends. We got trouble, Naruto said. After a few minutes of explaining things to him as well, Sasuke gritted his teeth. Indra. That must have been who was speaking to me in my dreams, Sasuke said. And from the sound of what Ranzo said, they were planning to reveal the truth about the Uchiha clan massacre. The truth? Sakura asked. She remembered that Naruto had mentioned the truth about Itachi back when they'd all met in the Land of Iron as enemies. But whenever she had asked about it, Naruto just said that he couldn't tell. Naruto looked at Sasuke, whose eyes widened. Sasuke sighed. If that's the case, then it will make restoring the Uchiha harder. But I will do what I have to. And I guess you should know the truth, Sakura, since it seems everyone else will soon enough. And he told her what Obito had told him, how the Uchiha had planned a coup in response to the prejudices of the village after the Nine Tails attack, and Itachi had been a spy for the village, then committed the massacre to prevent another war. They then headed back to the village. When they got there, they had a rather cold welcome from the villagers. Get lost, Uchiha. We don't need you anymore. You caused the whole war. Kill him. Your whole family are traitors. The shouts rang from all around them as they passed. This was bad. Naruto could see the hate in their eyes as they glared at Sasuke, some even threw food at him. Sasuke didn't retaliate as the projectiles hit him. Naruto remembered Itachi's worry, that the Uchiha pride would be damaged beyond repair. Maybe I should just leave, Sasuke said. Yeah, get out of here, a villager nearby said. No, Naruto stated. And he put himself in front of his best friend, taking a beverage can to the head. Naruto faced the villagers, determination in his eyes. Listen to me, all of you, he shouted. Seeing the hero of the village, and the entire shinobi world addressing them, people fell silent. Sasuke is my friend. No matter what any of you say or do, Naruto stated. Nothing will ever change that. How can you be so blind? An old female voice said. Kaharu and Homura made their way to the front of the villagers. His family attempted to launch a coup d'etat. She stated. They wanted to overthrow the third Hokage. And whose fault was that? Sakura asked, stepping forward to be beside Naruto. All of you. You blamed the Nine Tails attack on the Uchiha, just because the Sharingan was known to have the ability to control it. It was an Uchiha though. Homura stated. It was Madara, or Obito, Tobi, whatever that masked man called himself. And you blamed the entire clan for that. Naruto stated. You can't hold someone else responsible for the crimes their fathers, mothers, or any other relatives commit. That's right. Kakashi suddenly appeared in front of his old team. You can't blame Sasuke for the coup his father and clan members attempted to perform. And his brother Itachi was willing to be branded a villain. He sacrificed everything for the sake of this village and protected us from the shadows. He prevented a fourth great ninja war from happening earlier. Yes, but Sasuke became a rogue ninja instead of the hero who would play the part of avenging the Uchiha clan, Koharu stated. He learned about Itachi's true reasons for doing the things he did. Yet he did not return to us after he did so. He attacked the Hidden Cloud and the Land of Iron. He killed Danzo. How can we trust him? Homura asked. I don't know if we can. Someone stepped forward. It was Shikamaru. Naruto shivered as he saw one of his friends stand with the elders. I think the safest option would be to have Naruto use his Rasen Shuriken to completely destroy his ability to mold chakra forever, Shikamaru said. What? Naruto exclaimed. There's no guarantee he'll even survive that. I'm not doing that. Well, I don't trust him. He should have remained in prison for the rest of his life if you ask me, Shikamaru said. I mean, think of all that he's done. You're not the only one who's had friends become rogue ninja, Naruto. I know that, Naruto stated. He thought back to many of the rogue ninja he'd met. Mizuki, Zabuza, Haku, Orochimaru, Kabuto, Obito, and others. But I just can't bring myself to see Sasuke as an enemy. And I never will. Hinata came forward now. All of you, ask yourselves, do you trust Naruto? Because I do. And if he thinks that Sasuke has changed, I believe him. Sasuke grew up just like Naruto. Without any family. But whose fault is that? His parents. A villager shouted. They brought this on themselves when they tried to overthrow the Hokage. No, Hinata declared. All of you did. Her words hung in the air as she pointed at the villagers in a line. I remember when Naruto was young. You would all look at him with disgust, like he was some kind of monster. He was just a little boy. Hinata reminded them. You hated him because he carried the nine-tailed fox, you treated him as though he was the fox. But now Naruto himself is friends with the fox. It was the one that killed his parents. Naruto winced slightly. Well, I wouldn't say I completely forgave Kurama, Naruto said. But he is my partner. But Hinata is right. You treated me pretty bad when I was young. There was a time when I hated you all for that. The truth is that, Sasuke and I could have been standing in each other's shoes. I might have become the rogue ninja instead of him. Some people looked at him in horror. Some of our enemies are driven by greed, Naruto continued. But others are just victims. Like Obito. He was manipulated by Madara, and even Madara turned out to just be a pawn to Kaguya. Sasuke is a victim of his clan's loss and persecution at your hands. Everyone in the village was silent. Then Sasuke stepped forward. He looked at Koharu and Homura with a paralyzing glare, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan activated. He could have killed them both with Amaterasu then and there or sliced them with the sword he had a hand on. The two elders saw his eye and feared for their lives. I could kill you both for the part you played in the massacre of my clan, Sasuke said. You two and Danzo were who I really wanted to kill after I learned the truth. But, I won't. He retracted his eye powers and took his hand off his sword. I'll never forget your role in the annihilation of my clan. But I swore that I would not let my brother's sacrifice be for nothing after I spoke with the revived Hokage. I'm done with revenge. His words caused many in the village to gasp. Naruto and Sakura both smiled at their friend's choice. Shikamaru looked surprised but let out a breath of relief. Koharu looked around. Where is Ranzo Shimura? He's the vessel for my original self, Sasuke said. We have a new threat out there somewhere. Indra Otsutsuki. He has the Rinnegan, you are all in danger from him. I don't know how long he'll take, but he is after not only me but Naruto as well. I won't ask you to lay down your lives for me. But I will fight to protect Naruto. Just as he would do for me, and any of you. They all looked at Sasuke differently. He was speaking like a true shinobi of the leaf. I know you might not like me, but I will fight to protect you from Indra and any other threats, Sasuke said. There was a long silence. Then slowly, Hinata started clapping. She looked at Sasuke with a smile, then others joined in the clapping. Ino, Choji, and many others. The only real exceptions were the two elders. Kakashi looked at them. Put them in prison. The sixth Hokage said. Anbu surrounded them. What? You can't. Homura objected. You conspired to murder fellow shinobi of the leaf and overthrow the current Hokage. That's treason. We did what we thought was best for the village. Just like Danzo did. Koharu shouted. The third Hokage was too soft at times. Danzo caused more harm than good, Kakashi corrected. No more will his faction be tolerated. All root members who do not agree to disband and swear loyalty to me as the 6th Hokage will be exiled from the village. After a few hours everything was more or less cleaned up. Tsunade was located in Root's underground facility and freed. I can't believe I fell for a goodie basket. Tsunade raged as she stood in front of Kakashi at his desk. Meanwhile, Naruto and Sakura had decided to go on a date. That left Sasuke alone, and he had someone he wanted to thank personally. He knocked on her house door. Hinata soon answered. "Oh, Sasuke," she said. "Hinata," he greeted. "So why are you here?" she asked in her usual shy manner. He had never once come to visit her before. "I wanted to thank you for standing up for me," Sasuke said. "Oh, it was nothing," Hinata said. "I just did what I felt was right." Sasuke smiled, a real genuine smile. "Well, I appreciate it. Good night," she said. "Night." Sasuke made his way back to his new house. He felt a small measure of satisfaction that things had worked out for the better somehow. The elders who'd persecuted his clan were locked up for life. Sasuke had truly felt the urge to kill them earlier. But no, he was done with the life of an avenger. Now he was going to live as a shinobi of the leaf, to protect it from danger. He stopped for a moment, looking up at the night sky. Indra was out there, somewhere. Sasuke didn't know how long it would take for his past life that had returned to the land of the living to make a move, but he would have to be ready for him when he came. However long it took. Indra walked in his new body. But as soon as he'd gotten away he'd realized something distressing. The body he was using was not an ideal one. The man whose body he'd taken over, Ranzo, was not a descendant of either him or his brother Asura. He did not have the chakra to work with the abilities Indra needed. At least not without help. He had used a special pill to allow his chakra to regenerate rapidly, but Indra hated the idea of having to use that method when he should have the power naturally. He needed some way to reacquire the strength that was his by right. He needed a stronger body. This one had at least gotten him back to the world of the living, and he did have some of the Ten Tails chakra. But it would never be equal to the real thing. He needed more if he was to crush Asura's legacy as well as the traitor to his own. Indra did have one major benefit that came with this body though. Ranzo's knowledge. Being the son of a high-level ninja, Ranzo knew much. Indra remembered all of Ranzo's experience and the things he'd heard, as well as parts from his current reincarnation, Sasuke Uchiha, and more in the past, Madara. Indra knew of a jutsu that could allow him to get his power back. The immortality jutsu that Orochimaru had used to take over bodies. But who to take? He wondered. Sasuke was out of the question. He'd been able to simply turn the thing back on Orochimaru so he could do the same to Indra. Naruto. No. He was the one Indra wanted dead. He didn't want to be living in a body of his brother's reincarnation. Then it occurred to him. That's it. I'll wait until another comes. He said. When Sasuke Uchiha has a child. Then I will become more powerful than ever. Chapter 11 Heartbeats for 2. Okay, I'm back after 2 months. I decided to take a break from my other in order to focus on the ones that were closer to done. I managed to get my Avatar The Last Airbender fanfic done, so 1 down, 5 to go. But I'm back to this one now. And I've decided to only do 1 or 2 more chapters of a certain that isn't getting a lot of reviews. So, I might decide to focus on that one that next time and finish it off. Then I'll just have 4 stories to go, and with my first advance shipping story nearly done as well it will soon be 3. I guess this story will be updated every 2 weeks, then maybe a week and a half. But we'll see. Good to be back, don't know for sure what this chapter will be about. I left off with Hinata helping Sasuke and he was grateful for that. And as I recall I was considering an arranged marriage between her and Darui. That could set up the stage for Sasuke to realize he has feelings for her now. Naruto and Sakura were on a date. A picnic by the waterfall where Naruto had trained to perfect the Rasenshuriken. Naruto ate the sandwich that Sakura had made. It was a spaghetti sandwich, one of the most popular ones. She'd made it for him since she knew he liked ramen. She handed it to him with a smile, along with his favorites, fresh vegetables. Naruto took a bite and moaned in delight. I take it you like it. Sakura said. Yeah, Naruto said, taking another bite and saying. Much better than your food pills. Hey, no talking with your mouth full. Sakura scolded him. And I've learned to make better tasting food pills. I helped make the war pills, you know. Naruto swallowed his second bite. Hee, sorry Sakura. He then took a third bite. Sakura looked down at the vegetables. Don't forget those. Ah. Naruto let out a sigh of dismay. I don't want the last thing I eat for lunch to be a vegetable. Well, maybe eat them first, then you can have the sandwich as your final thing to finish off, Sakura suggested as she drew out the dumplings she'd made for herself. Her favorite ones, syrup-covered Enko dumplings. She took a bite of one and moaned like Naruto. Naruto smiled at her suggestion. He took the vegetables, and though they weren't the best tasting to him, he'd learned to live with them. He and Sakura enjoyed their picnic and cuddled into each other's embrace. Naruto then took his last couple bites of the noodle sandwich. Ah, that hit the spot. Almost as good as Ichiraku. Glad you think so, Sakura said as she swallowed her last dumpling. But I think have a little room left for something else. You. And she kissed him on the lips. He quickly reciprocated and picked her up, putting her on his lap. Their tongues battled for dominance inside their mouths. Sakura pinned Naruto's down and swirled hers around in his mouth. He tasted like noodles and bread, as she should have expected. If he'd tasted her, he might have gotten her dumpling taste. She let him go and let him get a taste. They then broke the case and gazed lovingly into each other's eyes, green into blue. You might be the better fighter between us, but it looks I have the dominant tongue, Sakura teased. You're always the one beating me. I just can't bring myself to hurt the girl of my dreams, Naruto said. Good, Sakura said as she sat up. I'm just glad we're safe and happy for the moment. I don't want this peace to ever end. Naruto nodded. I wonder how Sasuke's romance life is going. Sakura smirked. Well, I don't know, but I think he might have feelings for Hinata. Hinata, Naruto repeated. Just a theory anyway. She told me he came and thanked her for standing up for him a couple nights ago. Naruto tried to picture Sasuke and Hinata together. I'm not sure, he said. Yeah, she was the only girl in the academy to like you instead of Sasuke. Sakura said. Can't believe I never noticed it. I mean, now that I think about it, it was so obvious with all that blushing, Naruto said as he got up. Just cause you're totally clueless as usual. Sakura teased. But I'm glad she never had the courage to say anything, cause now I get you all to myself. She kissed him with more passion now, and he responded by lifting her off her feet. They were so happy and in love. Sasuke emerged from his house and took a walk around the Leaf Village. The villagers saw him coming and quickly gazed away. Their gazes held a variety of expressions. Some were still hateful or at least distrustful, others gave him sympathetic looks as they felt guilty for persecuting his clan and didn't want to do the same with him. Sasuke just walked and didn't say anything. He enjoyed taking walks, it helped him think. And there was a lot to see that was more or less new here since the village had been rebuilt from Pain's attack. He came across the village playground and saw a group of kids playing games like tag and swinging. Sasuke had not done that himself since the death of his clan. He'd been so fixated on revenge that he'd turned his back on friendships, seeing them as a hindrance rather than the strength they were. Sasuke sighed in regret, wishing that he'd not fallen so deeply into the darkness and that he'd made a good choice before Naruto had to pull him out. He should have come back after learning the truth about Itachi, or chosen to stay in the village when Sakura begged him to. But there was no changing the past. He could only better the future. He'd protect the Hidden Leaf Village and its people, but he also had another duty. To revive the Uchiha clan. He was the last of them. Even if they were a tainted clan, he had to ensure its survival, and keep it on the right path. In order to revive the clan, Sasuke would need an heir, and for that he'd need a wife. But he couldn't just pick any bride. He needed someone that was good, very very good. A woman with a pure heart that could never succumb to darkness. With a mother like that, Sasuke hoped his children would never make the same mistakes he did. Sasuke. A voice behind him sounded. Sasuke looked and saw Hinata. Hinata, he greeted. Hello Sasuke, she said. How are you doing? Fine, he said. The villagers aren't giving you any trouble. Aside from the occasional hateful glance, not really, Sasuke said. Some of them are sorry as well. That's good, Hinata said. I'm sorry about your brother. Sasuke nodded. A small tear welled up in his eyes. I spent so long hating him, but he was always the same loving brother in the end. My father always favored him. She gasped a bit. That's like my sister, my father named her heir to the clan because she was stronger than I am. Really? Sasuke asked. She nodded. My father was always strict with us. At one point he even disowned me for being weak. He didn't kick me out, but he lost his care for me for a while. Sasuke stiffened at her story, his heart seeming to beat a bit more. You've been through your own fare of hardship. But you didn't succumb to it. Hinata nodded with a small smile. I had someone to look up to. Naruto. He was my bright light that kept me going. Sasuke smiled at her. He is the same for me. Even though I'd turned my back on him, he was the one that pulled me out of the darkness. He never gave up on me even after I'd done. Yes, that's just who he is, and I must never give up either. I may not be able to win Naruto's heart now, but I will find true love someday. Hinata vowed. Sasuke chuckled a bit. Hinata looked at him in surprise. Did I say something funny? No, you just sound so much like him, Sasuke said, then added with a blush. Would you, maybe, like to go out sometime? Her white eyes widened. Go out? With you? As in on a date? If you don't want to, it's alright, Sasuke said. Sure. I'd be open to, Hinata said. I've never actually been on a date before. Sasuke shook his head. Me neither. I had a lot of girls attracted to me like Sakura and Karen, but I was always too fixated on revenge. Well, it's time to change that. They headed out, walking side by side. What kind of foods do you like to eat? Sasuke asked. My favorite ones are cinnamon rolls, Hinata said. Though I think that is more suited to desert. But I also like ramen. Got from Naruto as well, I'm guessing. Sasuke smirked. She blushed. Well, let's go. I like ramen alright. Especially when it has tomato sauce over beef, Sasuke said. They headed to Ichiraku's and had food, didn't talk as much while there, simply sitting patiently waiting for their food. You alright? You were really talking before? Hinata asked after a few minutes. I just didn't feel the need to say anything further, Sasuke said. But if you want to keep talking, it's fine. She nodded, so Sasuke decided to carry on with a new subject. Is your father still favoring your sister? She shook her head. Not as much as before. My father's grown proud of me in the last few years. He still intends to name Hanabi as the heir, but that's alright. What about you? Sasuke asked. Hinata stiffened. Well, he's looking into finding a husband for me. He received an offer from the Hidden Cloud, offering one of their ninja as a possible future husband. Oh, Sasuke felt a slight sting of disappointment. Are you going to accept? If I like him, I suppose. My father is at least letting me have a say in the matter. In more ancient times the bride never had that. I suppose I should be grateful for that. Sasuke nodded. Well, you do what makes you happy. You've become quite beautiful, Hinata. She blushed intensely, her whole face lighting, and she hid it in her face. You're making me blush so much. Sasuke just smiled. Sorry. But it's the truth. Hinata fainted, falling backwards. She would have hit her head if Sasuke hadn't used his beyond extraordinary reflexes to catch her before she fell afar. He then shook her awake slightly. Oh, did I faint? Sorry, she said. He just smiled. Thank you, Sasuke, she said as he gently let go of her. He nodded. Their food soon arrived and they ate soundly. It was nice to go out with you, Sasuke, Hinata said. Would you like to do it again? Sasuke asked. She nodded. I believe I would. But, I will have to meet my suitor from the Hidden Cloud soon. I understand, Sasuke said, showing no emotion outwardly. Perhaps another time then. She smiled at him. Yes. See you soon. With that, Hinata began walking home. Sasuke looked after her for a moment, then turned around. Someone else watched them though. A certain dog lover with his faithful companion. Those two on a date, huh? Kiba asked himself. Well, I think I'm good with that. For a while I thought maybe I did like Hinata, but I think that was just cause Naruto put the idea in my brain. I'll find someone someday. Chapter 12 Hinata's Suitor. Well, didn't get any new favorites last time, or might have lost them. Ah well, can't win them all. Hopefully this time we'll have better luck. If you guys feel there are things that could be improved in the story, I'm always open to suggestions, just leave them in the reviews and I will take them under consideration and then maybe go back and edit. Hinata sat before her father. Hiyashi Haga looked at her with a slight frown, though it was not directed at her. Understand me, Hinata, I don't altogether like the idea of doing this. But the Raikage is working to remedy his past actions. I understand, father, Hinata said. I would like nothing better than to kill the Raikage personally, Hiashi stated. He ordered you to be abducted when you were 3 and used the peace meeting as an opportunity. When I killed the ambassador that tried to take you, the Raikage demanded my life, but my brother went in my stead. The Raikage and his village have caused us great pain specifically. But we must avoid war if possible. This will not bring my brother, or his son Neji back. But it can serve as a means to atone for past wrongs, and we do not wish for an open war again. Though, it may only be a matter of time before a new one emerges. Hinata shuddered as she knew what he meant. Indra was still out there somewhere, plotting something in Ranzo's body. If so, we must prepare and keep our relationships with the other nations as healthy as possible, Hiashi concluded. Now the Raikage has given his word that you will be allowed to remain here in the leaf and that he will not attack if you do not find the suitor he has selected acceptable. But we must be wary. Even if the Raikage is not plotting against us, others might. Of course, father, she said. Good. You are dismissed. Hinata retired to her quarters. She looked at her dresser where she kept a collection of important photos. One of her family, back when it was full. Her father, mother, herself, and Hanabi as a baby before their mother had passed. Next to that was one of her with Team 8. Kurenai-sensei, Kiba, and Shino. Finally, she had one of all her main friends. Naruto, Sakura, all the others except for Sasuke. It was ironic, they'd lost Neji and then gotten Sasuke back when they had all but given up on him ever returning. Lastly, Hinata looked at the picture with a single face on it, Neji. I miss you, brother, Hinata said as tears fell from her eyes as she looked at the picture of her dead cousin. If only someone could have used that jutsu to bring people back to life, you might be standing with us now. She took a moment to cry. Ever since the war had ended, she'd lost much. Her cousin, then her crush. Naruto was with Sakura now. But she had to keep going, no matter how hard things got. That's what she knew Naruto would do. Hinata knew that things could get better, she could still find another love. That's right. There can always be something good in the world. Hinata gasped. That voice. It had sounded like Neji. Hinata looked around. How could she have heard him? He was dead. She shook her head. I must be imagining things, unless, she looked at the photo. I'll be in your heart, Lady Hinata. Neji's voice said in her head. Let your heart guide you. Sniffling slightly, she seized the portrait and hugged it to her chest. I will, brother. She put it back on her dresser and then went to bed. Tomorrow her suitor from the land of lightning would arrive and she would meet him. From what she'd heard, he was the younger brother of the Raikage's right-hand man Darui. She had enjoyed Sasuke's company as well, but she would have to take her time and decide. She woke up early and bathed, then put on a fresh set of clothes. A red dress that she'd had for a while but rarely used as it was a bit revealing. To cover her legs she put on a pair of paints to appear more modest. Her father had told her that she needed to look her absolute best. After a quick breakfast, Hiashi led her and Hanabi to the front gates of the village. A group of Hyuga clan members flanked them for protection. Though they were quite capable of handling most degrees of enemies themselves, Hiashi wanted to display his strength to the cloud as well so that the Raikage would be less likely to consider plotting against them. Even so, it was unlikely now. The third great ninja war had been bad, and the fourth even worse, where everyone got trapped in genjutsu. It was up to them to prevent another one from breaking out, at least as long as they could. Soon they arrived. The Raikage and a dozen of his elite shinobi, Darui walking at his side along with a young man around Hinata's age. Like his brother, he had white hair, but it was longer and combed to reveal both of his eyes. On his forehead he wore the hidden cloud headband, and like the majority of those shinobi he carried a red and white katana on his shoulder. The Raikage came up to them and stopped. Lord Hiashi, A said. Lord A, Hiashi greeted in turn. A turn to Hinata, his expression not changing, though he closed his eyes and bowed slightly. I apologize to you and your family. I know I cannot undo the wrongs of the past, but I can work to make the future a better place for both our villages. Yes, sir, Hinata said. A gestured for the man next to Darui to come forward. He gazed at Hinata with a heavy blush as he saw her. Well, go meet her, Marui, Daru told his little brother. Marui stepped forward. Hello, I'm Marui. Hello, Hinata stuttered. I'm Hinata. Apologies for my brother's shyness, Darui said, ever an apologetic person. Coincidentally my daughter is a shy person as well, Hiyashi said. Well, see if two shy people can bond, A said. Leaving the two alone, the Raikage and his forces took up residence at an inn in the Leaf. Hiyashi and his clan members returned to their mansion. Hinata and Marui walked around the village silently, not saying anything for the longest time. Both fidgeted as well, Hinata tugged at her dress and Marui scratching his cheek. They caught a glimpse of each other doing that and giggled softly. Well, I guess I would like to know about you, Hinata. About me? Well, where to start? What was your life like? You had a Kekai Genkai too, right? Oh yes. Well, my life wasn't always easy. She told him her life story, how she'd been the eldest born in the main branch. He already knew the part his village had tried to abduct her and steal her eyes, of course. How her cousin used to bully her, her father losing faith in her as heiress due to her shy and gentle nature. It's not easy, Marui agreed. Being the second born in my family I felt the need to prove myself, but I didn't manifest my element chakras for a while and couldn't use the storm style. I only just started being able to use it recently, but it takes a lot out of me. Sounds a bit like me when I was young, a voice said. They both jumped and looked over their shoulder to see someone they both knew in different ways. For Hinata it was personal, and for Marui it was reputation. Sasuke Uchiha, Marui shivered as he saw the formerly rogue shinobi. You must be Hinata's suitor from the hidden cloud, Sasuke said. Why yes, Marui said. I was a second-born child in my family as well, Sasuke said. Work hard and I'm sure you'll get it eventually. Like a certain friend of mine did. Hinata knew he was talking about and smiled. Thanks, Marui said. Sasuke nodded and looked at Hinata before walking off. My brother fought him and his team in the Land of Iron, Marui said to Hinata. I heard. Well, I heard that he attacked the Cage Summit. Marui sighed. I can't understand how you guys forgave him after all he'd done. And is it true, that rumor about his clan staging a coup? She nodded. They were wrongly persecuted without actual evidence. Just like Naruto when he was young. Hey, I guess it's hard to remain loyal to a village that treats you like scum, Marui said. She nodded. So what do you like to do in your free time? Well, I like to run, Marui said. Builds up my stamina as a shinobi and it lets me move quicker. I like to paint as well. Hinata giggled, earning a blush from him. Did I say something funny? No, I just know someone else that likes to paint. He uses art ninjutsu. Wow. Well, mine's not quite the combat type of painting, Marui said. Well, paints are always lovely to look at, Hinata said. I enjoy pressing flowers, that's a form of art as well. That's nice, Marui said. They walked around the village with Hinata showing him places of interest like the Hokage house and cemetery. Hinata was unsure whether she found him agreeable right now. He seemed nice enough for the moment, maybe a little quick to judge, an unfortunate flaw rather prevalent in people. She would just have to wait and see. Chapter 13, A Choice. Well, you can probably guess what's gonna happen by the title. Hinata's gonna make a choice between Sasuke and Marui. I originally intended to take a couple chapters to have her spend more time with Marui, but I'm probably getting impatient for everyone to get married and have the children I've been thinking about for so long. Or at least one child in Naruto and Sakura's daughter. I think I will go with Kasumi Uzumaki, then maybe I'll have Shinichiku or whatever the popular name is for their son as the younger brother, maybe another little sister as well. Hope you guys don't mind me just cutting to the chase, but I went longer than I intended in this part that takes place before that. I just want to get a move on. Disclaimer. I don't own Naruto, if I did then he would have gotten together with Sakura in the end. Just giving my fellow shippers an alternative ending that I believe should have been canon. A month went by as Hinata spent time with her new suitor from the hidden cloud. She felt they could be happy together if they did indeed become official and tie the knot. But every so often when she was out and about, she saw Sasuke being eyed with hateful glances here and there by the villagers. It reminded her of Naruto's life when he was a child, maybe not as bad since she had helped to make them feel guilty by telling off for their treatment of the Uchiha as well as Naruto. She'd gone on dates with Marui and they'd begun talking more comfortably after overcoming their shyness. But she had to make a choice now. Both Sasuke and Marui had similar backgrounds to her own. They'd been born into a clan with a Kekkei Genkei and had to live up to the standards of the family. Marui had needed to work hard to build up his skills, just like Sasuke and her. But Marui had never been hated by the village he came from, and that was something she took into great consideration. Hinata sighed as she made up her mind. She'd choose Sasuke. He needed someone to be there for him and make him happy. He wanted to redeem the Uchiha clan from its dark past that Naruto had finally pulled him out. He and Sakura were there for their friend, always. But there was no such thing as too many friends to watch your back, no matter how skilled you. She had also truly enjoyed their date together. Hinata walked out to where she'd agreed to meet Marui. "Good morning, Hinata," the boy from the hidden cloud said. "You wanted to speak to me." "Yes," she said. "It's about my decision." Marui took a breath. He'd known this day was coming. He looked hopeful at her, but when she spoke her words filled him with disappointment. "I'm sorry, Marui, you seem like a nice man, but I've decided I like Sasuke," Hinata said. "He needs someone close to him. Especially now with more than a few people against him." Marui looked down. I understand. I wish you luck." He walked off with a neutral expression that hid his sadness. "Don't give up," she called after him. "I know it's hard being rejected. But there can always be another love." He looked back and gave her a small smile. Hinata was glad he at least accepted her choice and wasn't being a sore loser. She watched him leave, then began to walk to Sasuke's house. She knocked on the door and he soon opened it. "Hinata," he greeted. "Sasuke," she returned the casual greeting in imitation. He smiled a bit at it. "So, how are things going with your prospective husband?" She shook her head. "I decided I want to be with you." Sasuke's eyes widened. "That makes me happy," Sasuke said, a little nervous and blushing slightly. His heartbeat quickened, as did hers. There was silence between the shy girl and the stoic man. "I know I'm not the #1 hyperactive knucklehead ninja you dreamed about in the past. But I hope I can make you happy," Sasuke said. "I do feel joy when I'm with you," Hinata said. "You and I both had our lives greatly influenced by Naruto, even if we did suffer loss and hardship with our families." "That's true. Naruto gave you the resolve to keep going, even when things looked hopeless," Sasuke said. "I wish I could have seen your fight against Neji. That probably would have been something. Did you ever manage to make peace with each other?" She nodded. "Yes. After the Chunin exams he became kinder to me and wasn't as harsh." "That's good," Sasuke said. "At least you had some time with him as a proper family member should." "I only got that after Itachi had died." "What do you mean?" Hinata asked with a shiver at the thought of speaking to someone already dead. "I met Itachi as a reanimation. We fought Kabuto and ended the jutsu that brought back all the dead shinobi puppets. It was him that made me start to rethink my path of revenge. But it took Naruto to pull me back into the light." "I'm sorry," Hinata said. "It's not your fault, none of it was," Sasuke said. "Kagauya, Madara, Black Zetsu, and Obito did it. I wish things could have been better. But there's no use dwelling on what we can't have anymore. All we can do is try to make the future better." She nodded. "You're right." She looked into his eyes and he looked into hers. He then stepped forward, his face a few inches from hers. She knew what he was thinking. "If you're willing," he said. She nodded once again, blushing heavily. "Yes." He leaned in and pressed his lips to hers. Their heartbeats grew even quicker. They remained locked for several seconds, or perhaps it was an eternity. But then they broke apart. Sasuke's one visible dark eye not covered by bangs looked into the white ones, like yin and yang. Sasuke only hoped she was the right woman for him to not only love, but set a good example for any children they might have so that the curse of hatred would be gone for good. Sasuke looked at her. "Well, that was nice. Was it your first kiss?" she asked with a small stutter. He nodded. "Yours?" She nodded with a soft smile. "Well, I should probably be on my way home now," Hinata said. "My father might worry." He nodded. "You should go to your family then. Would you care to join us for dinner soon?" she asked. "I might like that," he said. She turned and he closed the door. Leaning against it he could faintly hear her walking away for a few seconds. He then returned his room where he had the photographs of his family and team. They'd been dug out from the ruins after Pain's attack and later given to Sasuke. He'd once turned the photo of Team 7 down when he left the village. But now it stood as a proud and happy time in Sasuke's life that he wished he never turned his back on. He looked at for a moment then to the picture of his parents, Itachi, and himself. His naive 7-year-old self looked back at him, unaware of the dark man he would become. But now the darkness had passed and Sasuke hoped that with Hinata he would have a much brighter future in the years to come. Chapter 14. Holidays and Weddings. Okay, so in this point we've reached the part where the last took place. Though I'm gonna skip the majority of that. I've called it trash before, but I might just think that cause I know I'm aware of the contradictions, and I've recently liked a fanfic doing an alternate last where Naruto gets together with Sakura. I had intended to take a little break from this FIC to edit it, but still need to do that. So anyone have any suggestions to make it better? I'm open to hearing them. Too fast. Something you don't agree with. Name it and I'm willing to think about it. 2 years passed as Naruto and Sakura, as well as Sasuke and Hinata, went on dates, missions and hung out with their friends. There hadn't been any sign of Indra, or Ranzo, whatever one decided to call him. The elders were imprisoned for conspiring to overthrow the Hokage, revealing S-class information, and attempted murder of a fellow Leaf Shinobi. They would remain there for the rest of their lives, which Sasuke was satisfied with. After so many years an avenger, he didn't want to take their lives except if he had to and prevent another cycle of hatred from brewing. The villagers left him alone, though he knew it would be a long time before the Uchiha clan was redeemed in their eyes. He was willing to work for it though. Naruto and Sakura sat at Ichiraku Ramen with Sasuke and Hinata. All of them wore warm clothing. It was winter, just a few days from Christmas in fact, and they were discussing plans. So I think we should have a big get-together with everybody, Sakura said. Have all of our main friends and their families at one place and party. I think that's a great idea, Sakura. Naruto said. It sounds wonderful. Hinata agreed. Sasuke grunted with a nod. It was settled. They'd have a party for Christmas with all their friends. Many of their friends gathered at the Hokage house on Christmas Eve where Kakashi held hands with Ayame. Naruto remembered the night they'd gotten together. He'd been at Ichiraku with Sakura and Kakashi. Flashback. Naruto and Sakura sat at the restaurant, eating their food slowly, hoping to see what would come of what they'd encouraged Ayame to do during their last visit. Soon they heard the start as the waitress addressed Kakashi. Kakashi? Ayame asked. Yes. Kakashi looked up at the waitress. I would like to talk to you. Meet me when I'm on break, Ayame said. He did so, leaving a shadow clone to go and do the work until he could hear her out. She met him a short distance away from the ramen shop. The thing is, Kakashi, Ayame struggled to speak. I like you. Kakashi's eyes widened. You, like me. Well, forgive me, but aren't I a little old for you? I mean, I'm nearly a decade older than you. She shook her head with a smile. I've seen your face under that mask and it's just drop-dead gorgeous. I don't mind that you're a bit older. You're the Hokage and one of the most gifted shinobi in this village, besides Naruto, Sasuke, and Lady Tsunade. But you've always been my favorite Jonin. Kakashi blushed. Well, that's very kind of you. You are a good woman, Ayame. One of the few who never mistreated Naruto back when he was hated. Ayame just smiled. It wasn't right the way they treated him. I mean, his mother was a regular and she was a wonderful woman. I remember her coming down for salt ramen a few times when I was a girl. I was sad when she died. My father knew Naruto was her son, so we both felt sorry for him and always made sure to be nice to him no matter what anyone said, even when him coming to our restaurant drove other customers away. Kakashi looked at her in shock for a moment upon hearing that. Well, you are certainly loyal to your friends. He then smiled under his mask. All right, I think you've won me over. She giggled. Naruto and Sakura watched the whole thing from their hiding place nearby and smiled at each other. I always knew that she had a thing for him. Sakura said. I'm just glad we got our sensei a good woman. Naruto said. Can't have him dying alone. Shut up. We don't want him to hear you. Too late. Hey, did you set this up? Kakashi called, hearing Sakura's voice. They blushed as their sensei looked at them. Well, yeah. Kakashi sighed. Kids today. Oh well, I can't say I'm mad at you for urging Ayame to confess to me. He then turned to the young woman. When are you off work, my dear? Well, my father's planning to train a new waitress so I'll have more free time. Ayame said cheerfully. How about afternoon tomorrow? I'm sure my shadow clones won't mind, Kakashi said. Good thing I have them to go through all that paperwork. Kakashi sat at the large dinner table addressing the party attendants. Well, today marks another year of peace since the fourth great ninja war has ended. I do hope we can have 100 more. Naruto grinned and raised his glass of punch. One more year and he'd be able to drink. Well, to peace, love and friendship. Peace, love and friendship. Many echoed. They all drank their glasses, punch, wine, whatever they chose. Then Naruto looked at Sakura. There is one more thing, he said aloud for everyone to hear. Something I need to ask you, Sakura. Yes, Naruto. Sakura asked. Naruto got up from his seat and reached into his pocket and pulled out a box, then got down on one knee. Sakura's hands went over her mouth as she knew what he was doing. Sakura Haruno, will you make me the happiest ninja in the Leaf Village and marry me? Naruto asked. Sakura stood there silently for a moment, her cheeks flustered. She felt all her parents, friends, and their families watching her. But she kept her green eyes locked on Naruto's blue ones. She'd never noticed how lovely those eyes were until now. Those eyes that guarded and loved her unconditionally, that she could wake up to every morning. Yes, Sakura said as she held out her finger for Naruto. He put the ring on and rose to his feet. She threw her arms around him and kissed him full on the lips. Everyone smiled at them. Ino put her hands on her heart. Hinata grasped Sasuke's hand and smiled. He managed a small one as well. Everyone else smiled and clapped as well. That's my little girl. I was wondering when they were finally gonna get together, Mebuki Haruno said. I'm so proud, Kazashi said as he watched his daughter happily. She's become a greater ninja than I could ever dream of being. They enjoyed the rest of their party, passed out gifts, and then went home. A few months went by, until finally the day for Naruto and Sakura's wedding came. It was to be held at the training ground where Team 7 had had their bell test to officially become over 7 years ago. Tables had been brought up, with lots of food, especially ramen for Naruto, as well as barbecue, and other things. Naruto stood there in his suit, Sasuke as his best man. Seated in the attendance were many of the Leaf Zone ninja, Naruto's usual friends, Konohamaru and his gang, the other Kage, Tsunade, Kakashi, Shizune, and other shinobi from around the 5 nations. There had probably never been a wedding like this in history with so many varieties of people from different nations together. Finally Sakura came out of the woods in her pink-white dress that had been made with flower designs on it. She wore a flower in her hair as well, which had been styled in a bun for the occasion. Her father led her up the path to Naruto and he took her arm. They then turned to face Kakashi. As usual, the copy ninja hid his lower face under a mask in addition to his suit. Well, today is a joyous day. 2 ninja of this village have decided to live their lives together in holy matrimony. May they have a happy life full of love and peace. There was silence, then Kakashi moved on to the vows. Do you, Naruto Uzumaki, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Naruto said. And do you, Sakura Haruno, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do, Sakura said. Then, as Hokage, I now pronounce this set of shinobi, husband and wife, Kakashi declared. You may kiss the bride. Naruto and Sakura shared a kiss, now husband and wife. They then made their way to the feasting table, or one of the many feasting tables present for their wedding at the old training field. Naruto looked around. This is where it all started so long ago. Sakura nodded. Yeah, and it's not over yet. Sasuke sat with Hinata, watching his 2 teammates getting married. Well, I'm glad they're happy, Hinata said. Yeah, Sasuke said. They ate their food in mostly silence. The 2 of them didn't often need to talk, though Hinata tended to be the one to initiate their conversations. She didn't mind that Sasuke wasn't exactly a big talker. He'd made her happy these past couple of years. Though she wondered if he was ever going to do it like Naruto was now. Hopefully he'd do it soon. In fact, he silently planned to. Thanks for watching part 2. If you enjoyed this twist in Naruto's journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Fox Fanfiction. Stay tuned for part 3, things are about to get even more intense.